I say let's like go straight into Spac Nation's latest foray into the headlines. The latest thing has taken place, and I saw this. Trend Central randomly, I think this was yesterday, yeah, on Sunday, they went live with Spac Nation. They had a conference somewhere in London, and because now they're called The Nation, and they streamed for 3 hours and they were showing this conference. So Pastor Tobi is there talking to the presenter, like going through what the church has done and all of this. And I watched it for a little bit and was actually like really disgusted with Trend Central, and that caught on. People on Twitter were going nuts about it as well. But really what I wanted to get from you guys is so he's also announced that he's changing the name from The Nation to The Family. That's a new step that they're going into. But also, do you guys think that Pastor Tobi is doing God's work? And if you don't think he is, do you think that Spac Nation is one of the biggest Christian scams in the UK today?
Do we have how many hours do we have for this? It's boring.
Do you want to go first, or should I?
No, my sister, go first. I will just chill. I will, as your Nigerians will say, I will chilolo.
Okay, chilolo me. Bro, I mean, it's just all the questions you've asked. I can just say a blanket yes. I have no direct experience with Spac Nation or with Pastor Tobi, so I'll just start from the jump. I don't know this guy. I'm quite pleased not to know, because I don't like how he presents. I do not know you as a man. I don't like how he presents. I'm very sensitive to false prophet pastors. I'm very, 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 very critical of people that put themselves in positions of power, especially when they're in positions of power that to lead people. You have to be so righteous. I cannot criticize you. And I don't care if that's pressure on your head. You're not a celebrity. You are a person that's put yourself in a position of power. If you're a politician, if you're a police person, if you're in a position of power, you cannot break the rules. And as a pastor, I don't understand why you're preaching materialism. It's ridiculous to me. To a community that suffers with the ills and the trappings of materialism as a deficit. I'm not saying we can't enjoy things. We can. But it comes at a cost in our community specifically. You're not even promoting, even if he was wearing Daily Paper that I represent all day, or Pierre Moss, or Grassfields, or Love Yaya, or Greens Teas, or Everyday Throw Day. You're not promoting black brands. You're promoting all these designers and material. And that's just a microcosm of what you're doing. The scamming that we've heard about, and people we know people directly affected by it. So it's not even like people are lying. I don't even have to say allegedly on this. I know somebody who's experienced a direct line of fraud from Spac Nation.
100%.
So for me, he's not doing God's work. It's impossible unless God that we've been told about is not the God that we've been told about. So it's the one, and maybe he has an insight into who the real God is. Because personally, as well, as a person that my mum really tried to enforce Christianity onto me, I was very pushed back, reluctant to it. And so I have a real aversion to constructed religion. I think I lost my train of thought, but I don't like being told what to do for the name of God, when especially from people who are false. And that's it. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I'm passionate. He's not, in my opinion, he's not a man of God. Everybody that works with him is not a man of God. He's manipulating young people.
Definitely.
And it's dangerous. Nation, Spac Nation, Rebirth Nation, get out of here, man.
Oh, sorry, I had to mute. I was having entourage. They were coming in and going out. I told you, this house is like, I mean, you've said a few things that I totally agree with. My faith is very important to me. One thing I cannot stand, as you call them, scam pastors. I've been to enough churches in my time, like from VPA, KICC. I've been there for all like this UC, whatever, that Portuguese church. I've been there. I've seen with my eyes, and I'm like, and I'll see every week we'll go to the church, and the same person that they delivered the demon yesterday is come back again. I'm like, that demon didn't go home. I'm like, I don't understand. They will be, and I'm like, this don't make sense. And the way they'll be asking for money, if you want to give £2, come forward. If you want to give five, ooh, come again. First they start with 500. I'm like, look at all of us here. We're all in London. You're asking us for £500. I mean, I've been to a church, even in KICC. who's going to come out? They need to, and then all these churches, they deliberately get people. There's a guy called Mike Murdoch. Mike Murdoch any church that invites Mike Murdoch over, you just know it's just to raise funds. It's not for anything else. I've been to a lot of churches where he's been invited. I've watched enough programs when he starts talking about sowing a seed, buy my book, and you're buying. And I'm like, I too went through that buying books, trying to, find salvation. And I borrowed myself sense that, you know what, you people, I'm sorry. I just, when this is how I see it. When your congregational members cannot even afford 3 meals a day. Some of them don't have paper. They don't have anything else. They're struggling. You are driving the best Porsche. You are wearing Gucci. As you said, you're not even promoting Black businesses. You are basically putting wealth, into another quarter. You're wearing designer clothes. You're driving Porsches. You're driving a fleet of cars in UK that costs £100,000. Where did you find the money from? Please, somebody tell me, because I don't understand it. Because what I believe true Christianity is helping your brethren, helping your society, feeding people when they need food, helping people to get education. Everybody that's going through a difficult time. I mean, I know that people have said that TD Jakes church does this, and when you're going through a difficult time with work, they'll even pay your bills, they'll pay your mortgage. Your church will do that for you as long as you've been paying your tithe and all that. Even if you're not, I think there's a way. But some of these churches, these pastors, I'm sorry, and I have heard firsthand. There was even another chick. I can't remember her name. This girl, she was going from church to church to church. She scammed so many people. I mean, I heard she went to prison one time. I can't remember her name. If I remember her name, she was this girl. I mean, so many things that you've heard, but I just feel as if these people they're not God. They're not doing the will of God. They're actually, it's disgusting. And they always said that the amount of people that will not go to heaven at the end times, plenty pastors will not be going to heaven.
They will not.
Plenty of them.
They cannot.
Because it's not, I mean, first you ask for first fruits, then you ask for tithe, you ask for offering. Do you know there's a guy I follow, his name is Daddy Freeze, and he started saying that you are not the Levites. The Levites were the ones in the first testament. Sorry, the first testament that said they were the ones collecting tithe. That you need to go into the history of tithe. And if you look at it, do you see Church of England asking for tithe and offering? Do they do? Have you ever been to a Church of England church? They say, we're raising funds for the roof. Please give whatever you can. That's it. They don't ask you, 10%, because you go to church. That's what they hamper on, and they make you feel guilty that you don't give this 10%. If you don't give 10%, you go to hell. Or sow a seed. They start quoting Malachi. You're sitting there like, you're trying to tell me if I don't pay my 10%, God is not going to answer my prayers. I changed my mindset. As much as I'm a Christian, there's certain things I had to change my mindset, because I'm thinking, if you don't ask questions, you're not going to, it was just becoming a thing whereby I just wasn't happy. I was not happy with the way things are being done. And I kept asking questions like, I don't understand why your pastor has a private jet. 3 private jets into your alone. Like David Oyedepo, 3 private jets that man has. And then one other pastor said, and when Ezekiel supposed to go and riding bicycle, if Christ was there, Christ will have a private jet. I said, really? The Christ I know was a carpenter. He used to use plastic cup. I mean, he was using wooden cup to drink. So when you're making excuses, and they would justify everything, I touched not my anointed, and you're like, they will use the Bible, and it's all this evangelism that started, and it's all about money.
Yeah,
it's all about money. It's not about salvation. It's not about teaching people the will of God and the word of God and bringing people to God. Imagine our pastors are driving Bentleys. I don't understand. It's all about wealth. We're not. It's I can sit here and talk forever.
It's agreed. I agree.
It really is like that though. And it's the fact with Pastor Tobi that he goes around showing his Lamborghinis and he shows all of this wealth and opulence, and then there's people that are saying, I'm being forced to take out a loan, and now I'm in debt, and nobody's helping me to pay this, and all of the scandal that goes along with them. But still, the authorities seem to just allow this church and churches like it to flourish, and there's so many young Black people getting involved in it. I think the biggest thing for me with Spac Nation is the criminality that's involved. That salvation of, if you've been to prison, this is a house for you. But then everybody seems to be involved in some type of scamming. I was watching Mariam Mola. You remember the girl that had the BBC documentary about her?
Yeah, that might have been who Yatande was talking about.
Full on front row. She was talking about how she has this new salvation program for young women called Love House, and she's saving souls, and they're all applauding her. Like, I literally was watching with my mouth open, like, I cannot believe that this is being streamed on Trend Centrl. Like, you're putting it out.
Oh, that was the part of this. That was it.
Yes, yeah. She's talking about what she's doing. So it's like they're all on a stage. Every faction of it had time on stage to talk about what they're doing in the nation, to raise the nation. And she was there after all of the fraud, talking about her being to prison. And then this is a new scam that she has, and all of the people with her are like, she's changed my life, and like all of that was still going on, but there's no evidence of that. She made a claim that her magazine and her brand goes out to 250,000 people every month, and it's like, you're lying. I went searching on the internet. I can't see where this digital footprint is and where all of these people are, but there's still this like glossy flossing that she has. Like, literally, I'm so influential. I'm helping so many people. I'm saving so many souls. Where there are other people that I personally know, this girl owes thousands of pounds to, and Pastor Tobi co-signed her, like, just forgive her. Like, oh, she didn't mean it. Oh, that you just have to forgive her. Thousands. And then she's there talking about, I make so much money, I pay so much tax. Me and the government are like one. Like, I'm helping. Like, I employ so many people, and it's like, you're a fraudster. Like, it's such a sham. I was just so sad at Trend Centrl for doing this.
What was Trend Central's point? Is it that, because we've talked about Trend Centrl as well, the responsibility of them and the carelessness? Because I think Trend Centrl is a young production company. They've come up from producing and putting out Backchat, was a college debate show, which has had lots of controversies, but it's been great TV, I must say. So they've come up, they've had an idea, they've come up, and they're doing really well with their YouTube channel. But there is an element possibly of a lack of, because there's a thing about you get rich quick, but you don't necessarily know what you're doing as you get rich quick. And the training, because like I said, I've worked at the BBC, I've trained as a journalist, and like the law of being a broadcaster or a journalist, and certain things you need to be aware of when you're dealing with sensitive content, you have to toe those lines. But there's something that when you come up with an idea and you have access to the internet and you can just do, which is great because it's broken down the barriers, especially for people of color who haven't been able to get onto broadcast and get the proper channels, get popular through the proper channels, or the traditional channels, I should say. This has been great for us. However, the lack of responsibility and care that goes into something like this, Trend Centrl, with their what's their recent show, Blue Therapy, things like that. Where's the aftercare? The responsibility of doing something like Spac Nation, knowing what it is, that means there's an element of you don't give a damn, or you're in on it as well.
This is the thing. This is what people are asking. Like, is the guy? I think his name's Andy. Like, is he a part of SPAC? Like, is he a member of the congregation? There may be that, or is it just the bag was too much to resist? But it's like, there's that way up, isn't it? Is it like money over your people? Like, are you just prepared to sell us down the river?
But that's
because it's an influential channel. It's so influential. There are so many young people on it, and this is what
watching it. This is the thing. You have a lot of young people watching, and I get what you're saying, that it's as if that they're in bed together, that they were paid to do a PR for them, or like to try and fix. Like when you have something goes wrong with one celebrity,
management.
God bless you, my sister. To try and manage things and make everything a bit more clean. Go back, like, for example, I don't know if you guys saw recently, Amber Heard went on after the whole case has been won by her ex. It goes on all these news channels and was like, I'm like, why are you coming out to talk? We've already heard the nonsense they had to say. You've exposed your yansh in the whole of the place in the court. So why are you coming to come and do damage control? And that's exactly, I think that's what they did. They were trying to do damage control, because what I've heard about that church and what I've seen about that pastor, I'm so sorry. He has a mansion waiting for him in hell. That's what I can tell you.
It's
fair. I just don't. The correlation, even the fact that I love the idea. because young people coming out of prison, you need a safe space. You want to explore,
exactly,
and evolve and grow and reintegrate into society and be supported, because we know that in reintegration into society is dire for any ex-prisoner, ex-convict, ex-prisoner, and especially if you're of color, it's even worse. You're, unless you have a family or support network around you, it's not great. So this is the perfect thing. I don't even mind if you're a little bit cool. We do have Christian rap, and you're trying to get with the trends. You do have a little bit of stepping into how to rebrand for the modern ages, because the church has been losing, because the world is being there's so much exposure and there's so much lack of faith, and it's very hard to hold on to faith when the world has gone to shit. It takes a lot.
Of course, definitely.
Follower of whatever religion you really want to follow. So moving with the times to speak to a younger audience and catch them when they're young, if you've got good intentions, there's nothing wrong with that. But not to put like you're endorsing a trap lifestyle. Are you not? Even that you're Christian, you're calling it trap music and you're calling it Christian drill. You cannot, it doesn't match.
It doesn't juxtapose. You cannot juxtapose two things, because drill music that I hear of, I mean, I don't know. I think what it is like they're trying so hard to reach the masses, but they're forgetting what true Christianity. And I get it. I mean, I've heard rock bands who said they're Christian rock. I'm like, rock music. Okay.
But it can be if you.
Yeah, no, I get it. Not to say I don't understand it, but I don't know how you can be in bed like that. But anyway, that's my own conversation.
That's the thing, because like it's mad. I always have to talk about Creflo Dollar, because I remember my mum.
Oh my God. I was quite surprised about that one. Even Bishop Eddie Long as well.
Oh my, exactly. Listen,
that one died in the end, didn't he? Because he got exposed.
Yeah, Eddie Long, this is the thing, the stuff that he does. Eddie Long, that one, and then Creflo Dollar back in 2015, he was called out because he wanted support to buy his jet for 65 million.
Yeah.
Imagine you are a whole pastor and you're doing to your congregation of needy folk, please guys, I need a jet to do my ministry.
What do you need a jet for? Buy first class tickets if that's what you need to do. I'm sorry. Pay for your tickets. I don't get this thing eggs me. I swear to God, it eggs me. I don't understand the concept why a pastor needs private jet. When you're not Beyonce you're not going on world tour now. I don't understand. Even Beyonce, Jay-Z was saying the other day he borrows private jets from CEOs that are his friends. Can I borrow your? He doesn't have one. He himself is borrow posting, and this is someone that's a billionaire that's borrowing private jet from another billionaire because he doesn't want to pay for it. Exactly. But you Creflo Dollar, you're a pastor unto your Lord. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I know I'm doing the Yoruba auntie, but that's who I am.
That's who you are. That's the truth.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I think I played enough aunties in my lifetime, but what I'm trying to say, I just don't understand why a pastor, a minister of God, people are here suffering, people are going through difficulties. You're asking them selfishness. I want to preach the word, the gospel. Preach the gospel from your sitting room. We don't need you. You don't need to be flying around on private jet. 65 million. That money. If you said I want to feed a whole of, pay off debt, build schools. If you're saying I'm building schools, trying to finance everybody here to try and buy a house. If you're trying to put money together, that you've got a congregation of 2,000 guys, you know what we're going to do together? We're going to pull together everybody to make sure we all have a deposit for you to be able to buy your own home, to help you with the ladder to get to your own home. That in itself is Christian, but you want to buy private jets, you want to have ministry. What ministry? I've listened to your word.
I think it's facts. I was going to say, because what makes a good Christian and what is it? Because I think I think that the closest pastor that I respect is TD Jakes. It is TD Jakes, because he appears to be. And there is an element where if you are a successful preacher, pastor, you will get success naturally. So what are the boundaries? What are your, as you made some suggestions, that if by no over endorsement or over encouragement, you are a successfully rich pastor, how do you redeem yourself? Because I understand maybe some of them like, well, do we have to be in poverty? You don't have to be in poverty.
No.
But what's the boundaries between being that it gets too much?
I think you have to live modestly though. I think that comes with the territory. And literally, if you are like, my congregation is going to thrive, that's a brilliant idea. Everybody in my congregation plant seeds to grow another. We are all building so that we all have security. Who doesn't have security? Who doesn't have home security? Who is lacking? That's building a church. It shouldn't be that as the pastor, I am now in the biggest mansion that has 20 rooms and I'm flash, and that shows that our church is really prosperous. It should be everybody who comes here, we prosper. We work
exactly.
It's about community.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember this guy? This other pastor was a white pastor, and they actually accosted him outside. Something Kenwood. Is it Kenwood? His name said, Oyinbo Pastor White. He was in America, and he had this mansion, lavish lifestyle. He had, and they were like, I don't understand. They actually accosted him. It was one of these. They were doing an expose on him. They're like, we don't understand, because he used to be on the God channel, and I used to follow him. I can't remember. He starts with K. Was it his surname is K? And I remember they used to be Daystar. Daystar's another one. And those two, the couple, the husband and wife one. And they used to do all these, evangelism and all that. And then Mike Murdoch used to go on those websites, those TV shows. And the guy that, he had 2-3 private jets. He had, if you see the house that he lived in, and then some of these congregational members, come on, they're living in poverty. For me personally, I feel as if, as a pastor, if your congregation, if you're selling books and you're making wealth from one way or the other, fair enough. Plant and sow back into your congregation. Plant, because some of them, I remember when I used to go to a really popular church many years ago, and I stopped going to this church years and years ago, and the church was being investigated, and PricewaterhouseCoopers the government now made the PricewaterhouseCoopers come and do their books, and the church had to pay them £10,000 a day. That's what the government was a penalty, because by the point, the church had £20 million in the bank accounts, and they wanted to, like, how come you have all this money? And then in those days, they said people used to pay their tithe and offering. People were giving money. And then pastor, what he used to do is he would sell his books to the church. So the church would have to buy his books and then pay him the money, so that whenever he's doing anything, any bookshops, the books that he sells in the bookshop was already sold to the church at half price, and he would get his money back. And that's how he made money. But the amount of wealth books, all these books are, it was all about wealth. Well, the prosperity. Yeah. That's all they were preaching. But the prosperity you were preaching, half the congregation were not prosperous, and you were doing so well. I mean, I know that in the end that they audited the church. I think they tried to audit him. They exposed them on Evening Standard, and then they had one Nigerian journalist got undercover to try and infiltrate that church. Then there's another church, VPA. That one, Pastor Alex, that one too. The church apparently paid for his house, a £2 million mansion, and then apparently he was going to be evicted or something. It was something about the whole nature of where they were living or where they were renting. But everything was just so dodgy. I don't know why is all this dodginess happening in the body of Christ? It makes sense. I don't get it.
I've definitely we'll get the comments. I've definitely not argued. Mum watched, I think it was Joyce Mayer, or there's somebody else, and the woman's face from when she started to now is plastic. Now, I'm not talking about plastic surgery for anybody individual. But again, that leaning into materialism and commercial, and you're supposed to have faith in God. So you shouldn't be having plastic surgery. I'm so sorry. You not as a bleeding pastor. How are you having plastic surgery? Unless it's for reconstruction or for your health. But the fact that you've got a nip and tucked face, and this particular one's got a very nipped and tucked face. And I remember saying to my
Daystar, they were one of the couples in Daystar. They had the husband. You could tell that man had.
It's too much. That's vanity.
Definitely, he done nip and tuck.
It's a sin.
There was another one. What's her name? It was white girl, blonde woman. She and her husband. I used to follow her like crazy. I can't remember her name. And then she and her husband got separated or divorced. And they'll be, the funny thing, whenever their marriages fail, they now start preaching something else. I'm like, sis, you were preaching before about marriage, saving your marriage, all of a sudden your marriage is finished. Your whole tune. And then I think she was the one that said that, that Donald Trump was going to win the election again this time around.
Wow. Paula White. Was it Paula White or someone?
Hey, that's the Paula White. And they were praying for him. They said the angels, send the African angels to come down from heaven. I'm like,
listen, that
picture. Are you right? The African angels to come down and fight for Trump. Trump that cannot.
That picture
throw the whole woman away.
Literally, the one with the black pastors praying on Trump, that made me want to fight everybody black. Listen, let's get the comments, please.
Okay, I can't see all of them, so I'm only going to be getting the last few. If there's any more before then, coming after me. So, Gracious Greatness says their Christianity is different to that of George Miller, who built orphanages, and Charles Spurgeon, D.L. Moody, and those preachers of yesteryear, Spac Nation is hype on full. And Spac Nation is like some of those conglomerate multinational companies, them get away with unethical practices, definitely. And the K name that you were saying, he came back and said, is Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland, yeah.
Kenneth Copeland. And also,
thank you guys. Thank you. God bless you. Whoever you are.
Is it church or mummy water?
Hey, Lobato, I finished with today.
and then ZW goes on to say, Joyce is one of the private jet pastors. She said she doesn't have time to fly commercial when the gospel needs to be preached.
Really? Really? The gospel needs to be preached. Where? With the private jet? I don't understand.
It's a lie. It's a lie. You literally, there's flights going out all the time, every day.
You can book first class ticket if you want.
And that's the thing. She could even afford a first class ticket. God. You wouldn't even begrudge you that if you're doing partner with your church. Yeah. That's the best thing. Even simple partner. Anyway.